Hits for the pound.
Yeah, this is how we do it in the Central Colors, man. We got 40 ounces, Old English, rag tops, 6'4" Impalas, and bikini girls, man. This is how we do it on the West Coast. San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles. But don't forget about the Central Cali, man. Please don't forget about the Central Cali. Yeah, get 'em.
It's another sunny day in the state of California. Low rider palm trees and G's that put it on ya. This ain't a negative, we speaking ebonics. Rank talk, candy paint on D's with hydraulics. Baseball hat with the sticker on the brim. Don't let the sun blind your sight, cause things can get grim. But I'm not here to talk about banana clips and guns. We're going back to Cali and we're gonna have some fun. A West Coast domination.
And welcome back to Two-Face Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Fred Segura, out here in Monterey County, also known to the world as the Salad Bowl, also known as the Salinas Valley. To the people in LA, we are north. To the people in San Francisco, we are south. Right smack in the middle, best of both worlds. Don't forget about the Central Cali. Anyway, folks, today we are going to talk about validation, right? We often seek some kind of validation here and there, sometimes from time to time, with different people, finding to be accepted, sometimes through a group of people, a certain individual, whatever it may be, right? We want to basically impress the next person, and oftentimes maybe we don't see it that way, you know what I mean? But it is what it is, right? My my father, God rest his soul, he would always tell me, like, hey, why are you all happy because your homeboy showed up or whatever, you know? And I'd be like, well, that's my homie. Like, what's up? Like, you know what? He's my homie, you know? And my father would look at me and be like, is he God or what? I'm like, what? He goes, is he God or what? I'm like, no, like, what are you getting at? He goes, now, why are you idolizing that much? Why are you doing that? I didn't really see it at the time, you know. As I've gotten older, I tend to understand where he was coming from in a sense, but I wasn't overdoing it, you know. I wasn't, you know, jockeying or writing anything, you know, for that matter. But I see his point. And oftentimes, we tend to feel that way, like in whatever we do, you know. Sometimes, you know, we live in a time now where we want to be accepted as like, hey, you know what, my social media, how many likes did he get? How many people are reacting to it? How many people saw this video? Hey, you know what? Such as the Two-Face Entertainment Podcast thing, right? Again, it's not much of a podcast at this point. Eventually, it will get there, right? Where I do have a nice setup, actual, you know, side guests, and we'll have conversations. But for now, we work with what we have. So, excuse me, I seek validation from no one because I believe in the message that maybe somebody needs to hear. So that's the most important thing to me, is get the message out, right? The rest will come when it does. You know what I mean? But for now, work with what you got, get the message out. I seek no validation from nobody, no acceptance from nobody. I do what I want, say what I want, put it out there, and hopefully it reaches the right person if they're going through a certain thing, or it just happens to spark their interest, and maybe it hits home in a certain kind of way and helps them out of the situation. That's what this is about, right? That's what this whole Two-Face Entertainment platform / podcast is about. So anyhow, with that, guys, I look at things like, you know, oftentimes there's always been the kind of person, you know, that wants to show out for everybody else, wants to, you know, be the center of attention, as I said before. I don't see things that way. To each their own. I mean, hey, if that's what rocks your boat, if that's what you like to do, if that's what you feel you need to be accepted, you know what I say? I say this: don't accept me as a man for what I can do, or because of what I own, or whatever. Accept me for who I am as a person. Excuse me, who I am as a person. Right? Don't try to judge me because, oh, well, you can't belong to this because you don't have this. Well, it says who? Especially if I'm bringing something to the table, right? And it may not be to that person's standards, right? Or what he or she believes that it should be. But at the end of the day, it's contribution in a positive, in a well-mannered, and in a what's the word I'm looking for here? In a good intent, right? So therefore, sometimes people want to ignore, when something good happens, a lot of people will tend to ignore something like, oh, I don't want to hear it. I don't, whatever, right? Oh, it doesn't deal with what I'm doing right now. Well, you know what? Life is passing you by, right? There's sometimes we need to pause. Even myself, like, we need to pause from what we're doing and pay attention to what's happening around us, which we always should. As I've spoken on here before, I'm the type of person that reads the room, reads my surroundings, gets a vibe from people, my spider senses, if you will. But at the end of the day, too, though, guys, I look at it like this. I look at it as I'm not walking around with a chip on my shoulder, right? But even me, even the type of music I listen to, whatever, sometimes even back in the day, it was just a hardcore gangster rap in the 90s, you just boom, 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 all this stuff. But then sometimes you want to kind of chill a little bit, listen to some R&B, and I'm not talking, not just because you were with a female or a loved one, whatever, but sometimes just for peace of mind. I mean, I've listened to excuse me, to different kinds of music, different genres, because I don't always want to be on that same mode, right? But then, again, I probably listen to stuff that some people would be like, what? Like, why are you listening to that, Because I like it. I like it. I don't care what you like. I don't care if you don't accept it. I'm not here for you to accept it. I'm not going to play the part because I want you to like me. This is who I am. This is what I listen to, right? Excuse me. As you see at the beginning of these podcasts, there's pictures with Jesus Christ. This cough had already gone away, guys. It came back. Anyhow, I had at the beginning of these podcasts, you see pictures with different rap celebrities, musicians, if you will. Two of which are members of the Doors from the 60s, Jim Morrison and stuff like that, right? There's a picture with Ray Manzarek, a picture with John Densmore, as well as a picture with Mac Dre and, MC Magic and Yuckmouth and Spice One and all these other people, that are in there. But yet, that kind of pretty much paints a picture of what I listen to, you know what I mean? I don't close myself out because I think that when one closes himself out, we tend to kind of shut ourselves out from the rest of the world, and then we walk around pretty much with our head up or up our back, not paying attention to what's going on. And that's one thing I don't like to do. So therefore, I say all that to say this, that oftentimes you see people do all this stuff because they want to be validated. They want to feel like, no, well, I just listen to this. Or, no, I go by these standards. Oh, no, I go for that team because that team wins. Or I go for that team because that team is at this part of the state. So I go for all the teams that go for that side of the state. opposed to this side, so whatever. Dude, what happened to sportsmanship? Right? Why can't you just be you? Oh, I need to represent. No, you don't. No, you don't. You need to be you. Represent yourself of who you are as a person. Right? I mean, I see things that way that some people, I don't care if my favorite basketball team is from another side of the map or the other side of the state or whatever it may be. It's a basketball team or whatever it may be. Right? It's a sportsmanship kind of thing. Not a gang affiliation, not a side taking sides for personal reasons because I'm gonna pick a team because that team has a certain color that I want to represent. Like, dude, like, are you serious? Again, we all seeking these validations. We are all seeking these validations and unaware of what's really happening. Right? Guys, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. And it really needs to change from a lot of people that, hey, you know what? There's a time to grow up. There's a time to grow up, man. There's a time to know how to conduct oneself in front of people and be like, hey, you know what? I've liked this football team, this basketball team, hockey team, whatever it may be. You know, hey, but how come if you live over here? Because I do. There was one incident where, this is a few years back, and I saw it on social media. Excuse me. And people were arguing about a Latin or Hispanic, Chicano, Mexican American, whatever it may be, fought an African American fighter. Right? And people were complaining back and forth, going back and forth about what went wrong and how they felt about it. You know, emotions speak. I noticed that, and this is not a jab at the race, guys. This is just, as people, this is where we are. Where we've reached, what we've come to. So there was this people who, these African American people were talking trash and everything. Well, you're just seeing it with heart. You're just seeing it with this and this and that. You know, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go for this person because simply they're basing it off of race. I'll tell you what. Being of a Latin descent myself, in the 80s, I'll put it to you this way. If a Latin person was going to fight Mike Tyson, guess who I was going for? In his prime. I'd be going for Mike Tyson. I wasn't basing it on race. I was basing it on skills. Even if Mike Tyson was a raw dog and had skills, I'm not going to base it on race and be that proud. I'm going to be like, dude, I'm going for Mike Tyson, dude. That's the difference between us and the people now. Right? Again, we seek validation. Because, oh, we need to go this because this is our race. No, bro, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going for the person I feel is more skillful, more faster, longer reach or length or whatever, you know what I mean? And based on his or her record, right? As far as wins, losses, and draws, and knockouts, and so on and so forth, right? That's just speaking boxing. I know there's a whole MMA thing. That's a whole different ballgame. I get it, guys, but I'm not too much into that, so I can't really speak on that. But same thing. I'm not basing it off of race. I'm basing it off of skills and sportsmanship, right? So therefore, people really need to, I think, really need to see the bigger picture as to where we stand as a person, as ourselves, and you know, because oftentimes we feel like, oh, well, I'm just being slick about it, and I'm saying this and this and this and that. Well, yeah, you may think you're saying it right, may think you're fooling somebody else, but sometimes some people are transparent. You can see right through them, and they're just using that as an excuse. I won't get into it, guys. I've seen people light non-filtered cigarettes backwards just so it burns a certain color first. I get it. Okay, you know what? Maybe it's street stuff. Whatever politics they may feel for, obliged by. But conduct yourself, man. Conduct yourself right, because those little things are not making a difference. Those are just more personal things that aren't really making a difference in anything. You want to change something, go out there and do it. You can't be right there like, oh, well, I do this because this and this and that. Well, you know what? Okay. But what are you really doing other than standing here talking about it? Right? We are seeking validation for everything, even down to music, down to movies. Some people are like, no, well, I think it's good because, this and that. Or the biggest excuse I've seen with a lot of music, well, it's just different. It's just different. It's a new style. It's a new thing. Oh, so I'm supposed to accept it because it's a new thing, right? So if I get, something just unexplainable piece of trash and tell you, hey, check it out, boom, check this out. I'm going to show you this and be like, why? It's trash. It's a new thing. You should accept it because it's a new thing. I think not, guys. I think not. I don't I don't want to sound like I'm bitter or a hater, which I probably already did to a lot of people, right? But hey, it is what it is. But you know what? But at the end of the day, too, though, guys, I know there's a lot of you that probably realized how foolish you may look sometimes. And even myself, too, I blame myself for that, too, sometimes at times. Because we all, at one point, were immature and younger and stuff. But there's no excuse when you're at a older age and you're still, trying to, represent or trying to show out for people for some kind of validation or acceptance. Stand on your own, too. Be your own person. And validate yourself in what you believe in, not what anybody else wants you to believe or feel that you need to be. With that, guys, this is Two Face Entertainment Podcast. I'm your host, Fred Segura, signing out.